Hello, so welcome to this next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
I'm Tom Blount, I'm another lecturer on the course.
So in this coursework, we asked them to do a narrative game. Tom, do you want to explain a little bit more what we asked them to do?
Absolutely. So for this coursework, we asked the students to produce a small game prototype again, showcasing some storytelling techniques based on one of three fairy tales.
Brilliant. So, shall we get on and have a look at our first game?
Yeah, so our first game is Dwarf Adventure? Dwarf Quest? Something? Dwarf Adventure, there we go.
So one of our fairy tales was the Queen Bee, which had some dwarves in it, so
some nice little music.
Yeah, I like that. Little start screen.
Okay, got level 1, 2 and 3.
So again, they've learnt from watching us play in the past.
I've got a little inbuilt tutorial.
To move. See, that's nice. I like it when they haven't forgotten the tutorial.
Ooh, we've got a little attack animation.
A little animation.
Oh, look at that bouncy jump. You can also climb vertical surfaces.
Yeah, he really is a very small dwarf.
Yeah, those houses are massive.
Oh, he's a very small dwarf.
Yeah, bounces extremely high. So
it's kind of fun. So you've got some sort of health bar in the top left.
Yep.
And you vanquished the cat. Well done.
Was that a cat?
I think it was a cat.
It looked like some sort of cat rat.
Are you climbing up the side of that using dodgy collisions?
No, that's deliberately a mechanic. They've got climbing mechanics as well as... I'm a very speedy dwarf as well.
It isn't a cat, actually. It looks like a kind of...
possum or something.
Yeah, possum. Yeah, it could be a possum.
Alright. So, again, for a story game, not necessarily a huge amount of story context to set us up.
I mean, I like the fact that they're trying to do something different. But yes, it is... I wish that you just want a little bit of a premise at the beginning, so you kind of know.
Like just next in front of those tutorial messages, just a thing saying, you know, you're a dwarf, you're going to a castle. Yes. I mean, I suppose similar to Mario, you're not given much. You just you're Mario, go right, save the princess.
But then Mario isn't a narrative game.
That is true.
Well, yeah, other than the premise.
So we'll see what other techniques they've used, because hopefully there's some.
Yes.
I mean, I am quite enjoying the platforming in this. Like, the controls feel like very nice, very tight. Ooh,
there's quite crisp.
I think the attack animation is probably a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice being able to kill all of those monsters to get here, but it almost takes some of the challenge out of it. But again, we're not here for challenge, we're here for story, so...
Okay, and it looks like you found some... Congratulations, you won!
I'm disappointed by that. I was expecting story.
Yes. Okay.
Interesting. Alright.
So let's try a different level then.
Oh, whoa, hang on. That's changing things up. So in level 2, those things take 2 hits to kill, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is not showcased in any way.
It was showcased by you immediately meeting one that took 2 hits to kill.
If they had just tinted the colour of the sprite to be like red or yellow or a different colour, then I'd have been like, oh, a different enemy, maybe this one's stronger. But no, it just chunked me, and there was no reason for me to even get hit by it.
No.
That feels very much like a case of, well, we got this asset pack, and it's got an attack animation, so I guess we have to use it.
So the game notes say that you're wandering this world full of animals and adventure, which yeah, we're doing that.
Oh, I found an anthill.
And then it says, you face different choices along the way. Brothers, look at these ants. How fast can we make them run? Spare them or kill them. Well,
or I could just walk off and ignore the choice. So interestingly, spare is in red and kill is in green.
Yeah, it's just an interesting choice, isn't it?
Why would I want to do either of these things?
Yeah.
What's going to happen if I pick either of these things?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
let's.
again, this is the thing about choices and calculations. So here it's not a calculation because there's no obvious answer, but also so it's a choice, but it's not an interesting choice because you don't have any context or have any idea of what the consequences might be.
And in
right?
in some cases, it's all right. Oh, in most cases, it's all right not to know the exact consequences of your decision because, again, that sort of prevents it from becoming a calculation. You want there to be some sort of unforeseen consequences of what you've done, but in this case, we've got no context to it at all. We don't know why our brothers are trying to kill these ants. We don't know.
I mean, you can play with it, so you can play with short and long-term consequences. So, trying to think. So, for example, Life is Strange, where you can rewind time. You know exactly what the consequences of your decisions are going to be, because you can see them play out, and then you can rewind and take them again.
Yeah.
But all of your decisions have long-term consequences that you can't rewind. So what you're doing is you're making the decision based on short-term consequences, but there are these unknown long-term ones. So that's one way you can manage it.
All right. So what should we follow the course of this?
Well, let's spare them because then at least we get to see what the consequence is.
King of the Ants will help you in future.
Okay, so we've got a little. Ken will remember this.
So it's really going to be interesting to see exactly what form that help takes.
So, yeah, there's a real lack of scaffolding around this story, isn't there? We've got no premise to start us off. We've got no reason to make the decisions either way. We've got no real idea what the consequences of our decisions might be. So, okay. Nope, more level.
Also, I mean, I am kind of enjoying the platforming. Like, it does feel kind of fun and interesting to sort of navigate these things, but they are just like a bunch of weirdly stretched crates. I mean, look at this one. This is just that crate texture on the right, but rotated and stretched and floating in midair.
Yes.
So, I mean, we could call it an abstract platformer, but and speaking of me ruthlessly criticizing the graphics, should we have a look at Mark's team and start with?
So, in terms of presentation, then, so whereabouts are we? So, what's that? The duck will help you in the future. Okay, so we're so satisfactory would be key information shown, consistent graphics, and some audio. I think the graphics. I mean, they're not special, but they're fine, and they are consistent.
Other than the platformers, the platforms. I mean, they're technically consistent, but you know they're a bit warped and stretched.
Slightly overused, maybe. But and what about key information? You've got your health in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, we've got like the range of our attack. We've got when we damage one of these things, it sort of bounces and goes red. Like a couple of little things like that.
So the real problem with the information design is around the kind of the narrative context.
Yeah.
And I suspect the reason they haven't given us any information about the state of the narrative or the context of what's going on is because there isn't any to give. They've got a platformer and put a couple of choices in it, basically.
Yeah.
Without really thinking about the story too hard.
I mean, certainly, like the first level. So arguably, you know, the first bit that somebody is going to see in your portfolio prototype. It's like, oh, okay, this is a narrative game, let's play level 1, and there's absolutely no story in it at all. Oh, and I died. Game over, decide wisely.
What about the audio?
There's some lovely background music, but I think that's it. So there's no attack sound, there's no sound when you make a choice, there's no sound when you get damaged or damage a thing.
So satisfactory then, which is key information is shown, consistent graphics, some audio. Probably sounds about right.
Yeah.
Gameplay. So this is the mechanics and whether there's a wide enough set of them and whether they work together, and the controls. So what are mechanics here? You've got jumping, attacking,
Making choices.
making the choice dialogue,
Alright.
or climbing, I guess.
Yeah, climbing.
I don't know if they do an awful lot with that, but
Well, I mean, so, yeah, for example, here I actually... Oh no, I can climb over this box, which makes sort of one route redundant. Oh, here's the bee. Spare the beehive as well.
he will help you in the future. There's no cost at all. Yeah.
And again, like, even if instead of just a big "you win" screen, just a sort of, you know, you've reached the next stage of your journey, you approach the castle. There's like more narrative context.
So is there one to go?
Also, it's weird that it kicks you back to the menu screen every time.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be one consistent story, one consistent adventure. Why is it booting me back to the title screen? Why doesn't it just move on to the next level?
I mean, I appreciate the ability to jump backwards and forwards, but
Sure. But
I'm guessing that's the castle.
oh, and if I press escape, then it just takes you straight back to the main screen.
So is this the final main level where hopefully
we get some narrative.
hopefully our choices will
payoff.
come back to help us.
And that I'm gonna have to play this all again and make the wrong choices, aren't I, Dave?
So we were talking about gameplay. So satisfactory would be a set of mechanics, usable controls, and some meaningful play. Feels about right?
What's a step above that?
So a set of complementary mechanics, smooth and usable controls, leading to meaningful play.
I think we might actually be halfway between the two there.
Because the platform element's so good.
The controls feel nice. They feel smooth. Like it's
Okay.
they're let down on the fact that the mechanics aren't necessarily complementary. Like the attack is sort of redundant. Like it works fine. It's just if you'd have had the game without it, it wouldn't have made a difference.
The control element is up at the good end, and the mechanics are kind of at the satisfactory point. So halfway between the two. And then bugs.
I haven't noticed any to speak of.
No, it seems to work okay. So then it comes down to the complexity of the game. So good would be game is playable and reasonably complex. There are only minor bugs. These are uncommon. An excellent game is playable and reasonably complex. There are no obvious bugs.
Here's our narrative consequence, by the way. We hit a trigger, a text box popped up and said, you can carry on.
Okay.
I'm curious what would happen if we hadn't done that. Would that just be an instant game over?
Yeah. So I think for the bugs, it's probably it clearly is fine. There's clearly no bugs to it. So what do you think about the complexity level? There's a reasonable amount of stuff going on, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh. I'm quite a fan of where they're putting the checkpoints, because they do seem to be relatively near where I've died every time.
Yes.
So I'm definitely happy with my sort of where I suggested they should be for gameplay polish. In terms of complexity, I mean, I guess it's reasonably complex. Like for a small prototype that you might want to show off as a portfolio, I think the problem is going to be like the story, the complexity of their story engine and things like that.
Yeah. So I think the bugs thing is actually up at the excellent level because it's reasonably complex and no obvious bugs. So that's excellent. So story engine. So this is really about how the narrative is integrated with the game world, and whether there are examples of the game world changing the narrative and the narrative changing the game world. So,
and this is the thing.
So they've given us answers to this. So in terms of how does the narrative change the game world, they say the brothers face different choices. Based on their decisions, various animals can join their side as allies or be used as a type of food to increase the dwarf's abilities.
Sorry, what?
Really?
That would have been nice to know. I mean, again, not that like seems necessary. I've been doing just fine without those things. But like, this is exactly what we were talking about information design. Like, there's no.
So have you? So you've not actually
I've not eaten
killed
any.
any animals
I did.
yet, have we?
No, I spared all of them because I was going along with the story.
Okay. So it is true that if that was the case, that would be an example of the narrative affecting the gameplay. But you've spared the animals, and I've not seen them join your side as allies.
No,
yet.
they did sort of.
What happened?
We found some eggs on the ground. A mysterious voice said, "You must collect all of the eggs before you may pass." And then there was another text box that says, "The king of the ants has collected the eggs for you. You may pass."
Okay, so there was a mechanical impact. So they do some of the work for you.
Well, I don't. This is the thing. Okay, here we go. So, mysterious voice: to open the door, you must first find the key in the lake.
Has brought you the
The
key.
duck brings you the key.
Yeah.
So, would it be a case of if we'd killed the ducks, we would have an ability that would let us get around that anyway?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, would that have just been a game
over?
over?
Go and find the key. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether them actually helping you to circumvent whole pieces of the game is a good payoff. But all right. So anyway, so it is clear that the narrative choices you make do impact the game world. How does the game world impact the narrative? Each of the quests is more difficult than the previous one and requires some type of help. If you've made the right choices, the end of the game could be reached easily. Otherwise, you will lose health completing the tasks.
Okay. So here's the other thing: the fact that they refer to one of those choices as the right choice
yes,
makes them less of a choice because one of them is clearly the right thing.
Yeah, that's always an interesting sign, isn't it? The choices are only interesting if you could go either way. So I don't buy this. What they're arguing is that
well, the levels getting harder isn't the narrative affecting the gameplay. That's
so. Well, this is the other way around. This is supposed to be the game world impacting the narrative.
oh, well,
So
how?
they're saying if you've made the right choices, the end of the game can reach easily. So I don't think it does.
That's not.
I don't actually think there's any example of the game world changing the story. So the story doesn't change according to whether you've killed the animals, the eagles and the possums or whatever they are. It doesn't really change. It doesn't really change in terms of which direction you go or choices you make in your exploration. So I think there is no link that way. I think the link is only from the story to the game world. Okay, so if that's the case,
arguably,
yeah,
there's you make the choice, like save or spare the thing, and then it either appears later or doesn't. Like it's a sort of very. Do they say anything about the ending and sort of whether that's affected?
This is the game world impacting the narrative, right? So what do you do in the game world that changes the story?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything.
I mean, that's it. Like, yeah, I'm sort of being generous and looking at that choice you make as a part of the game world, but it's not. It's a
no.
What's the word? It's not a diegetic choice.
So I think satisfactory would be a simple story engine that has limited integration with the game world. There are some examples where the story impacts the game world or is impacted by events from the game world. And pass would be a basic story engine with poor integration with the game world. There are very few examples where the story impacts the game world or is impacted by the game world. So I think for me it's probably at the pass level. There is a story engine here, but it's not well integrated with the game world. And there are some examples, or a few examples, but they only go one way.
So, earlier we said, aren't these graphics lovely and consistent?
Yes.
I take that back.
Here's a giant pixie dragon. And a princess on the other side of the...
Yeah, and also, suddenly, now attacking is super important.
Yeah. Okay.
I am going to restart level 2. I'm going to make some different choices, and I'm going to see what sort of impact that has.
So let's talk about agency. So what we're looking for here is an interactive story with several branching points and some interesting choices and efforts to manage player agency. I think it's quite telling in their game notes. We asked them to present a diagram showing the narrative structure, and they didn't. And the reason is because there really isn't much of a narrative structure.
So that's the thing. It's sort of ties back into the story engine thing, but is there a branching narrative? I mean, there's sort of points in it where, you know, either the duck helps you or doesn't help you if you save it or not, but that doesn't change the overall story, really. You continue in exactly the same way.
I think the problem is that their choices are all mechanical. You're making choices about the game and the mechanics of the game, not really based on the story. The story isn't engaging you. The choices aren't interesting.
So I've got increased speed and jump now because I killed the ants, but that wasn't signposted in any way. There's no logical reason why stamping on an anthill makes me faster and stronger and better. So I can see sort of why they've done that, and I'll sort of talk about that when we get to the poetics bit, I guess.
So agency would pass would be an interactive story with some branching points but few interesting choices, and poor would be an interactive story with few branching points, few interesting choices, and player agency is problematic. Are we there?
Might be. Which is
so absent would be there would be no branches or choices of consequence. And I think they clearly have some choices and they have different things going on. Yeah, I'm tempted to say it's a poor. Few branching points, few interesting choices, and player agency is problematic because you don't have no idea what you're choosing or when you're choosing it.
Also, I just chose to kill this goose. Yeah, you know, goose seems unperturbed by this.
Yeah.
And because I killed the goose, the boss has less health, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay, poetics. Do you want to say something about this? So this is how the narrative and gameplay work together.
Yes. So I can see. So sort of linking into their agency, they're trying to carry on the theme of the story of, you know, you're doing something that hinders you in the short term by not getting these power-ups for something that will pay you back in the long term.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, I'm not actually sure if it feels like killing all of the things is better.
Yes.
It depends how much health they're going to take away from me for each of the things. Because it might be that if it's just, you know, a small amount, but I've got all of these buffs and can easily defeat the boss, then that's clearly the better answer.
Yeah.
So I can see the logic behind where they're going with this. So I think they've definitely made an attempt at sort of, you know, bringing across the themes through the mechanics, but because they've not signposted that to the player, they've not made them aware of, you know, the.
And it wouldn't have taken much, you know, even in the dialogue, if it said, the bees ask you not to kill them and, you know, promise to help you find something, or one of your brothers says to you, if we kill the bees, we can have their honey and that will
make us stronger.
Make us stronger or something, right? But
these houses are getting bigger.
So poetics then. So do the gameplay and the narrative complement each other? Are they sort of neutral, or are they in conflict?
I think. So the majority of the mechanics, so the, you know, running, jumping, platforming. In fact, actually, no. I was going to say they're not opposed to the sort of themes and the story. They're just kind of neutral, but they're not. We're killing all of these animals.
Yeah.
And then there are 3 animals that we're sparing, so they actually do work against each other. I can murder, you know, hundreds and hundreds of eagles, but I save 1 duck, and that's the right choice.
So what should be happening really is I should be coming across the ants, say.
Like have a level where there's lots of ants, and the more ants you kill, you know, the more buff
Exactly.
you get, but the less help you get.
And the easier it is to get through the level, but there's some consequence at the end for doing it, right? And frame it at the beginning, and that's how you align the two. So I don't think they're disastrously in conflict, but you're right, they are against one another, I think.
Like now I think about it, that is quite jarring. That like in a story that's all about, do you want to spare these animals? We're murdering all of these animals.
That's right. And there's no consequence for those, and there is for the special ones. So I would say...
I almost have to say they're thematic... Yeah.
So a pass is the narrative and gameplay have some conflicts. Some of the mechanics go against the themes of the story. And a pour would be narrative and gameplay are in conflict. The key mechanics are opposed to the themes of the story.
Ooh, okay. That did take a big chunk of my health away. So because I've killed all 3 of the special animals this time, I might just die before I get to the boss. But again, there's no mechanical difference, really. Like, I didn't have to go and collect the things which could cause me to lose more life. It was just, oh, here's some text, this is what happens.
So in terms of the poetics then, are we happy to say there are some conflicts?
Also...
or do you think it's completely against the theme?
Sorry, one other thing. Dying refills your health to full.
Okay.
So that makes that mechanic kind of entirely meaningless.
Yes.
I wonder if the buff carries over. Am I still faster and stronger and...
Maybe we should say it's between the two. So...
Yeah.
It's not that they're not completely opposed to the themes of the story.
Like, they've definitely put thought into it to try and, like I say, sort of, you're giving up these buffs by sparing the animals, but it's paid forward in the end. So they have put some thought into it. It may not be super well executed with the rest of it.
Let's push them up a bit for that. Let's have them at the pass level then.
Yeah.
And say there are some conflicts because that element isn't in conflict. Okay, techniques. So this is whether there's a pacing, and their use of game writing techniques to convey the story. So in terms of game writing techniques, there's not a lot, right? They've got these little dialogues that pop up, but they're very, very short.
And most of them aren't, yeah.
There's no kind of cutscene stuff, there's no environmental storytelling, there's no premise at the beginning of the game, there's no in-game dialogue or signage or anything really. It's just that. So I think they've used at least one game writing technique, but that they've not used enormously well. What about the pacing?
So it gets mechanically harder as you go on. So mechanical pacing, reasonable.
They do have the climax with the dragon,
but they don't set that up. So narrative pacing is kind of like sort of non-existent. We have. And that's because we don't have the context for what we're doing. We don't know that we're out to save a princess or fight a dragon. The fact that a dragon appeared was a surprise to both of us.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so a pass would be pacing is unclear or flat, partially successful attempt to use at least one game writing technique. Feels like it's there.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Poor would be no serious attempt to control pacing, an unsuccessful attempt to use at least one game writing technique.
No, I think they've attempted to control pacing through the sort of mechanical challenge.
Yeah. So.
And they have used a technique. They are delivering some story.
So let's have a look at what they said for their feedback. So they said they were recommended to focus on the story. So they decided to mark the most important moments of the fairy tale and implement challenges on the way to approach the end of the story. The player has to make a number of decisions spread around the level while keeping themselves alive. So, first bit of feedback was to make sure they had some story, and they sort of did that.
Well, so how much story did they have prior to that feedback?
Well, yeah, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? But anyway, furthermore, the second advice suggested to us was to implement interesting choices, each of which impacts the story, making the thing fun to play. We concluded the best way was to provide the player with a dialogue box and a button for each option is presented in there, without hinting how the story might depend on each choice. So they were told to make the choices interesting choices, and I just don't think they've done that. And in fact, they've done that one of the things which makes them not interesting choices, because they've given you no context.
But yeah, they give you the information after the choice. So
Yeah.
It feels like, again, they've attempted to do that, but they've not. Oh wow, that thing just absolutely chunks your health, and it's really not clear where its hitbox is.
The third thing they said was that they were given instructions to recommend rising pacing with each level. So they created 3 levels, each level presenting a series of impediments and animals which are faster than the previous one. Impediments, and the animals which are faster than the previous one. The player has to be quick and observant to spot and perform the movements required to outplay the enemies. So they were told to put the pacing in, and they did what we said, what we noted rather. They put the pacing in at the mechanical level, but not with the narrative. And finally, we've recommended that the game should have a climax. So they added a boss fight, marking the most intense point in the story, and letting the player know they are moving to the final of the product. So at the same point again, right? So it's a mechanical climactic ending, but it's not linked really to the story at all.
Which is
so
really...
it doesn't provide a narrative climax.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, given the first bit of feedback they were given, they've really interpreted all of the other bits mechanically rather than narratively.
Yes, yeah.
They said we were told to include a story, but then we did all of these other things sort of with relation to the gameplay instead.
Yeah.
So it feels like...
yeah.
Well, I mean, what are we looking at on the mark scheme? Because it feels like they've made an attempt to interpret it, but it hasn't quite...
So a pass would be feedback was not well articulated, but some changes have been made with limited success. And poor would be feedback was not well articulated, and a few changes have been made with limited success. I mean, they've clearly put the story stuff in as a result of feedback.
Well, you say that. We just defeated a dragon, saved a princess, and then again we get the same ending screen that we do at every level. There's no narrative climax whatsoever.
No.
I mean, there kind of is in that we can see a princess, but you know.
So again, I think we're down at the sort of, are they poor or are they pass? So if we sort of said, well, you know, this is basically down to whether they've made few changes or whether they've made some changes. So it's purely on the extent of the changes they've made. And I think, yeah.
In terms of the first bit of feedback, which is, you know, include more story, I would say few changes.
Yeah.
And with regards to the rest, they've made the changes, but they're not consistent with what we were asking them to do.
No, you're right. Okay, so we'll put them at the lower level and the poor level. All right, so that's an interesting one because that's an example of a game where the game itself is actually quite reasonably put together, but they really have failed to integrate the narrative.
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
All right.
But, okay, let's move on.
Okay, and this is Pirate Quest. So already some lovely music in the background.
Yep.
Just gonna lower that slightly, just so.
I like it's certainly piratey.
Okay, so we got a tutorial. Should we go through the tutorial?
We love a tutorial. Let's show us the tutorial.
Because of course.
Well, at least it's a tutorial of sorts, right? Okay,
so movement, attack bottom left in the arenas. So this is the problem with this kind of tutorial. I have no idea what bottom left in the arenas means. Like,
no. Or why stuff is unlockable. Special attack is a space.
I'm actually going to drop the volume down a little bit more because I'm struggling to hear you, Dave. There we go. I'll drop it right the way down.
So perhaps the pirate music was a bit too jaunty.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so you've got sword for melee, gun for range, boat, melee knockback. Okay.
I don't know what any of that means, but let's find out.
Let's go and find out. Hopefully it'll say it on the screen or something.
Hey, we got a little narrative introduction.
Oh, here we go.
I like my hat.
Little cutscene.
Crewmate, wake up, you lazy bones. What happened?
Oh.
Should I be doing a pirate accent? Didn't you hear the news? Blackbeard and his... No, I'm not. Blackbeard and his crew captured Charlestown last night. He controls both Nassau and Charlestown now. Ooh. Scoundrel. Wait, aren't we pirates?
We are. But, you know, there's pirates and there's pirates.
So we asked them to base this on one of three fairy tales. I'm not spotting which one it was yet.
Yes.
I think I know what it is because I read it in their game notes. So I'm hoping it will become more clear as we play.
Yeah. Yes, I think loosely inspired by would be appropriate.
Which is fine. Like we asked for an interpretation of it. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a word for word thing, but we do want to see some elements of the major themes. Our next raid starts in a few days, and we need equipment. There's a port selling smuggled weapons, but why are we taking orders from a parrot?
That's sort of like our. Oh, the captain orders you to sail to the Golden.
Get their
The captain
antenna.
talks to his parrot, apparently.
Yeah,
Golden Island.
the TV on the ship's not working, so we need some antenna. That's... Oh, okay, they're worth a lot, so we're gonna steal some golden antenna, sell them, and buy weapons.
Yeah.
Take this sword.
Okay.
Okay, there.
So here's the island, looking good.
Okie dokie. We notice the colony living in harmony. A group of ants approaches you. Ah, again
So-
with the same choice and no real context.
Well,
no.
Well,
hang.
they have set this up a little bit, right?
We
So
have
they-
some context. We know.
so
We know
why
attack.
we know why we're doing it,
We've been sent here to attack them. That's good. Yes.
and now we've been told, oh look, they're all friendly and they're living in harmony. So I think it's quite it's quite bluntly done, but they are setting up our choice. Basically.
That is true.
So are we gonna kill the ants anyway to do as the pirate captain says, or are we gonna spare the ants because they're all lovely, but we're presumably gonna get into trouble for not getting any stuff.
The ants. Yeah.
Oh, kill them.
Yeah. We're fearsome pirates. What do we care?
Oh, here we go. So we get to fight the ants.
Already forgotten what all the controls are, Dave.
I
I think attack was the arrow keys, and there was a special attack or something. We've got 48. We've got 48 seconds. 48 seconds to do what? We've got 0 of 12 ants. I guess that is.
Can you kill ants by hitting them with the? What happens if you try and swipe with the arrow keys?
Down seems to work. None of the others do.
Oh,
Can't swipe left. I can only swipe down.
you can only swipe down.
Yeah. Oh, and now I can't swipe at all.
Challenge fails.
Let's try that again.
Try again.
Okay. Oh, there's just a really big cooldown on the sword. If you look in the bottom left,
Ah, yeah.
look how long that cooldown is. Swipe, and then swipe.
You ready? So, and again, the cooldown's in the wrong place, isn't it? Because you're looking at your character, and
Yeah.
the cooldown is miles away off in the corner of the screen.
So that cooldown is kind of odd. It feels far too long to be swinging a sword, but it really puts pressure on you to actually hit, and to ideally hit more than one at a time.
Yeah.
So there is some, like, it's kind of interesting. So it gets
So
you to
it's
sort
more
of
of a
corral and
element?
sheepdog them, and then hit them all in one go. But I've got 15 seconds left, and I'm not making a huge amount of progress here. Come on, one more.
Oh, you've got one more.
Yay.
All right, you done it. So, well, interestingly, when you failed last time, instead of just the narrative continuing, but now you failed, so you chose to kill the ants, but then didn't succeed. They just send you back to do it again.
Okay, I've learned some new sword tricks. I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay.
Ship's chef approaches you. Shiver me timbers, the captain's going to kill it. The ship's chef is a monkey.
Why not?
Fruit's gone, the meat is done, we've got nothing. Please help me, my days are numbered if I can't find a way to feed the crew. So this is setting us up for, do we kill the ducks or do we not?
Ah,
And the thing is, this is really setting it up so that I want to kill the ducks. I want to help our monkey friend.
Which is, so we've got a nice monkey, and we want to be nice to the monkey. Who doesn't want to be nice to their monkey?
Like, I would, yeah.
I'd rather a bunch of ducks, all right?
If my choice is, killing a bunch of unsentient ducks, or possibly putting a sentient monkey into harm, I mean, arguably,
Or the deckhands who need to eat the ducks.
yeah.
Oh.
Oop.
Could we eat the crocodiles? Oh.
Oh,
we're only
okay.
people.
So the sentient crocodile
what?
instead. Okay, so again, interesting choice. Do we
let the crocodiles starve?
or do we starve? It's us or them.
What do you reckon?
I've got to start hunting, otherwise we're all going to starve to death.
Okay, so you're. Oh,
Oh,
now you're in your boat.
oh, I missed.
Do you have to get the ducks? Oh yeah, you've got to get 6 ducks. So they've gone for a kind of a different type of mini game here, where you still only you've got to go and pick the duck up, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's quite cool.
Because I'm also running away from these crocodiles. I don't know if I can damage the crocodiles.
There we go. But then you're wasting your bullets on the crocodiles.
Yeah.
But the cooldown on the duck killing is.
I think I can shoot faster than I could swing my sword, which, you know, for like an 18th century musket feels odd.
Oh, you've got the right number of ducks.
Oh, okay, cool. I can just run away then.
But also, notice you've got the right number of ducks, but there are still ducks left for the crocodiles, so everyone's happy.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's fine. So I learned some new gun tricks.
Okay. So, here comes the captain, Captain Flint. Well, he's decided to talk to us directly and not through his parrot.
Ahoy, Captain. I know there are problems on the ship, but I'm doing my best. Do you know what solves the problems on the ship? Rum.
Rum. Well, yeah, he has a point.
But see, this is like a really nice way of presenting dialogue. We've got like the little picture of the person we're talking to. We've got their name. We've got.
And there was a little cutscene thing as well, if you remember, where we had a whole screen thing come up. And even this, where you're kind of presented, the intro to the islands are a bit different. Beehives.
We're pirates. I'm pretty sure we do just take stuff for free.
Yeah. Do we take the honey? Oh, you're taking the honey.
And I'm gonna beat things to death.
You're a ruthless pirate.
I've got to beat things to death with a boat.
What?
Because the captain's orders, I guess.
So here you've got no ability to shoot, is that right? But you.
Yeah. So
I like the way they've tried to vary these mini games a bit. They're kind of. Ooh.
Yeah. It's. I like what they're going for, but there's not a huge amount of challenge in just running away from these things.
Yeah.
I've got. I say that. I got stuck on a tree. Well, that's me told, isn't it? All right. Should we have to distract from my abysmal failure? Let's start with the mark scheme.
Okay. Well, let's start thinking about presentation then. So, is information shown clearly? Are the graphics consistent? Is there an appropriate use of audio? So, the graphics are nice actually. They're consistent. They complement one another. They're consistent between different modes as well, so it feels like the dialogue scenes are consistent with the mini games.
Yeah, so
they're attractive.
Information design wise, like the information is there. It could maybe be positioned better. Oh no, I'm not getting stuck on that tree again.
Yeah, I mean, but it is there. All the crucial stuff is there. You're told what you're doing. We're not confused here, are we? We know what you're doing all the time, and we can figure out what the state is. As you said, it's just not quite in the right place. What about the audio? They've got the jaunty pirate music.
Not a lot else, really.
So, okay. So,
some new boat tricks.
So good would be key information is shown clearly, graphics are consistent, and appropriate use of audio, effects, and/or music. Kind of maybe feels there. Excellent would be key information shown clearly, consistent and appealing graphics, and good use of audio. So I would say that. I mean, the use of the graphics is nice actually. Maybe halfway between the two.
Sorry, I'm too busy reading the story to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is a good sign, I guess.
Yes.
I'm invested in this.
Oh, they're going to set the. Okay. Blackbeard's going to set us free.
But now we need all of that helpful animals to help us pass this challenge.
Yeah, that wreckage right there is their old ship. They hid the key in one of those floating barrels. Okay, go find the key and bring it to me.
Do we want sword gun or boat? Alright, gun. So now we've got a special attack.
Oh, I like the sharks. Ah, yeah, your special attack was...
Pow.
Do you remember what that was activated with?
Space. Doesn't really... It's not super effective against the sharks, given that they're all in a line. Also, I can trap them all behind the barrel that I'm getting.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Also, don't have a counter for the number of barrels I need for this. Oop, there we go. Found the key.
Challenge completed. You found the key for the treasure chest. Okay.
You find the key and bring it back. The following night, the ship arrives in the port of Charlestown. As promised, you're free to go.
An honourable pirate.
So we got a crew, but no ship. One last thing we need to do, we're going to steal his treasure. We sneak back onto the ship to retrieve the treasure. We're not very good at sneaking.
Yeah. Oh, and then we fight him. Oh. And now he has... Okay. So, are you going to risk saying this isn't very challenging?
I am, yes. I was staying deliberately quiet, but you know what? I'll risk it. God, he's got so much health. In fact, if I just stand here... Nope.
No. No, it'll get you.
So he does actually aim at you, which is something. Yeah. Oh, and... okay. Second phase of the boss fight. He's brought this guy to chase me.
Ah, okay. Oh. He's after you as well.
Right.
Maybe you'll need some of your special... Okay. How are you finding the challenge now?
It's definitely getting more challenging, actually. Like, still, I'm going to tempt fate and say, yeah, still fairly doable, but more interesting at least now.
Yes. Though he's almost dead. I wonder if they brought those on a bit too late.
There we go, we defeated
But
Blackbeard.
I suspect that they wanted us to be able to actually do it. Lack of faith.
That is true. I mean, so it's one thing us being just sort of terrible at some of these demos, but you know, given that this is like a portfolio piece, you do want people to be able to get to the end. So it doesn't matter if it's not, you know, Dark Souls.
Okay, how dare you do this to the greatest captain of the Seven Seas?
I wouldn't call that the greatest. We take the treasure and burn Blackbeard's ship. No, take the ship. Don't burn the ship.
Mistake. The greatest pirate slayer of the Seven Seas. Okay. And that's the end of the story. Yeah, alright.
So we're... Ooh.
Oh, what was that? The pickpocket.
Oh, okay, we get to replay the ending cutscene. That's kind of nice. Nice little touch. Yeah, I got distracted. Where were we on the mark scheme?
So I think we were just talking about presentation, and I think we sort of said it was between good and excellent. It's kind of... there's kind of... all the information is there. The graphics were consistent and appealing, which is the excellent bit. And the audio kind of was sort of was appropriate. So we're on to gameplay. So this is about whether there's a set of complementary mechanics, whether the controls are usable, and whether there's meaningful play. It looked pretty good to me. How was it? You're the one playing it. How did you find it?
It's fairly enjoyable. I think the boss fight was definitely like the most interesting bit where the mechanics were tied together. The rest of it, it's all right. It's like meaningful play, but it's almost a little bit lackluster in that, you know, it's just go to place, stand next to thing, sort of ignore the enemies.
What about the mechanics here? So what have we got? We've got the sword fighting, we've got the gun fighting, we've got the boat fighting, which is a bit odd.
Again, technically different. What's the difference between boat and sword?
Yeah, that seems quite similar. You do have the pickup mechanic where you have to hover over it to do the pickup, which was quite nicely implemented. And that was a place where they did have the information design in the right place, right? The bar that fills up right where you are, which is good. So yes, I wouldn't say it's a wide set of complementary mechanics, but it's definitely a good set, a set of complementary mechanics. The controls look pretty good to me.
Yeah, definitely usable.
Have you done a different fight this time?
Yeah, so I saved the ants, so I'm being attacked by pirates. But because I'm on a timer,
Yeah.
I think I can just run away from them.
Can you survive for a certain? Well, there's a lot of them coming on.
I think I'll live.
So yeah. So in terms of the mechanics, I would say that they're definitely smooth and usable.
Yep.
Do you feel they're sort of intuitive? And is the play meaningful, or is it enjoyable and meaningful?
I think it's probably halfway between the two.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So like for now, for example, this is me cheesing the mechanics a little bit and
yeah.
not super meaningful.
Bugs? Don't appear to be any bugs.
No real bugs. I sort of got caught on terrain once or twice, but I think that's mostly me.
I think this is probably at least excellent. The game is playable and is reasonably complex with no obvious bugs.
So this is kind of an odd narrative inconsistency. Like I didn't kill the ants, so I got called a traitor and attacked.
But you're still on the ship.
I just ran around barrels for 30 seconds and now they're all fine with me again.
Yeah.
It feels like, they thought, okay, we need some gameplay, so we have to fight the pirates, and then we have to continue the rest of the story.
Yeah, I think that basically what they're doing is they're using we'll come back to this when we come on to this when we do the agency stuff, but this is sort of like almost like a fallback, right? You have these 3 encounters, the ants, the crocodiles, and the bees, and 3 fights, and then depending on how many choices you made, the pirate will react to you in a different way. So they're combining they're using a cumulative choice process. Yeah, bugs. Do you think this game is definitely reasonably complex? Do you think it's of higher complexity?
Not
Which
sure.
Is the prize-worthy bit.
I don't think so.
So we'll put them down as the excellent. I think you're right. I think they're really clearly in the excellent box for bug.
Yeah, it's definitely got enough complexity that not having any bugs, I would say, is probably along excellent.
So let's talk about the story engine. So this is how well integrated is it with the game world, and are there choices where you make choices in the game world that impact your story, and choices in the story which impact the game world, right? So their argument is
I can't hit that guy, he's off the screen.
in the first part of the game when you're trying to collect stuff, their argument is that whether you're successful or not doesn't impact the narrative because you just get to try it again.
That's not.
But later on, the story is directly impacted by the outcome of the arenas. So failing or passing the last arena challenges causes the story to branch in different ways. Right?
So it's basically either a game over or not a game over.
Well, kind of. So if you remember, you've got that. So you did the thing where the pirate let you free, and you then had the thing with the sharks, but you can fail that, and then you get different alternative endings to if you win it. And if you win it, you then get the choice to steal the treasure or not. But if you fail it, you get a kind of a different choice comes up.
Maybe.
So I think that there are clearly ways in which the outcome of the game impacts the story. So I think it's more than in one place.
Also, this particular fight is a lot more challenging than any of the others because everyone has a gun.
Yes.
So before I was just fighting some ducks with a gun, which I'll be honest isn't exactly sporting. Whereas this, I'm fighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 15 pirates all firing at me.
So that's the game effect of the story, and I guess the story definitely affects the game because you fight different arenas. So I think they've done a pretty decent job, and actually, it's quite central to the game, isn't it?
Yes.
So in terms of the story engine, an excellent would be an effective story engine that's well integrated with the game world. There are many examples where the story impacts the game world and is impacted by events from the game world. Prizeworthy would be a sophisticated story engine which is integrated in a diverse way, where there are many examples using different mechanics where the story impacts the game world. So I don't think that's the case, but I do think that it's excellent for the story engine.
Yeah.
Manage the first one. So agency, an interactive story with several branching points, some interesting choices, and an effective system for managing player agency. That would be excellent. And again, I think they're there. It's definitely an interactive story. There's definitely several branching points. The choices, well, we'll get to the choices actually in a minute. But the mechanism for choosing for managing agency is also there. So they have this kind of structural thing where they use a kind of cumulative choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about the choices? Do you think they're interesting and meaningful?
Difficult to say.
They're motivated. They could be better motivated, but they are motivated. They do give you some context.
Yeah. It feels like the context they give you I feel very much pushed to one choice over the others. But that might just say something about my personality. Like, I'd rather, hunt some ducks so we don't starve than let some crocodiles not starve.
So Prizeworthy would be a network of interesting choices, and I don't think they're quite there. But excellent is some interesting choices and an effective system for managing agency, and I think they've achieved that.
Yes, I'm curious to see sort of whether these things come and help out afterwards, or whether it's just you fight some pirates instead of some bees.
What is this treason?
See, this is the third time I've had to fight the
fight
the pirates, and they're still sort of fine with me.
Well, I don't know if they are. They told you to throw you overboard for treason now.
I mean, they were trying to shoot me a second ago.
Well.
And again, I'm just going to run around in circles for 40 seconds. Because these guys don't have guns, so I'm not really bothered.
These are famous last words, you realise this, right?
Yeah. Bonk. So there is the mechanical difference in that if you kill the ducks or the bees or the whatever... Wait, no. I was going to say, you learn your special move. You never really get an opportunity to try that out before you're asked to pick which weapon you want, though, which is kind of a shame.
I think the thing that this game it needs a little bit of playtesting, doesn't it, to get the difficulty balance a bit better. You survive. Oh.
So he's not going to make us captain.
I think he's about to abandon you.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So you're abandoned on the island. Oh. Oh, so you've been discovered by another pirate.
Well, we kept committing treason against our pirates. And he's like, "Oh, really? Would you like to join my crew?"
Oh. Prove to us you're actually the pirate you said you are. Okay. So are you going to go and...
now we're fighting undead? Okay.
Let's do this.
Do you think the undead will have guns if I pick this? Let's pick the boat, because I want to see what the boat's special attack is.
I don't think you've got it because you didn't gain the special attack, did you?
There's something in the bottom right.
Oh, there is actually. That's not where the special attack was it?
Yeah, good. Wait. Oh, is that? It looks like the antenna. Oh, is this where we call for aid from the? Hang on. If I press.
You get the ants.
I can call for the ants instead. I see. So instead of getting the special attack, we get to call for.
An ant coming in. There you are. The ants go and help you.
All right.
That's quite cute. I do like the little mounds of earth that you have to go and collect.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing a thing.
Yeah. Oh. You failed to find the chest in time. Oh dear. So you haven't found it. Oh dear. So yeah. So you've got. This is the. Oh, and you get to fight him. Oh, and you can still call in the bees this time.
No ducks or crocodiles, though.
Yeah. Right, where were we?
Oh, I've lost track.
Poetics. So do the narrative and gameplay support one another? Do the mechanics emphasize the themes of the story? Well, yeah, kinda. Well, you've got the whole pirate. I mean, it depends which theme, isn't it? But you've got the whole piratey theme going on, and the fighting is fits in with all of that. But also, you've got the whole Queen Bee aspect of them coming back to help you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily brought across through the mechanics, except that we get, we can bring in these allies here. But the thing is, that just replaces the special attack. If we hadn't done that, I actually preferred the special attack that I had rather than calling.
Basically, what they're doing is it's making the choices more narrative choices, right? So the choices that you make have narrative and mechanical choices.
Right, but in the poetics, we're sort of looking at how is that carried across through the mechanics, right? Sort of.
Well, it's does the story. So does the mechanics, does the gameplay, I suppose, rather than just mechanics, does the gameplay emphasize the story successfully?
And that's sort of what I'm getting at, in that you have the... I wouldn't say they're in conflict, probably, because you can call in allies to help you if you did them. That's the whole, you did your good deed, you're being helped out.
Yeah.
The problem is, I had a better special attack.
Yeah.
So that's the bit that I'd sort of say is maybe in conflict, but not to a huge degree. It's not actively working against it. It's just...
Yeah. So, satisfactory would be narrative and gameplay do not interfere with one another, but the key mechanics have little to do with the themes of the story. And good would be narrative and gameplay complement one another, and the key mechanics are in keeping with the themes of the story. And excellent would be narrative and gameplay support one another, and the mechanics emphasize the themes of the story. And for me, it's my issue... Probably good, the one in the middle.
Yeah, my issue with them sort of supporting each other is, gameplay-wise, there's very little difference depending on what choice I make. They're virtually mirrors. Either you fight some crocodiles or you fight some pirates in exactly the same way. The only sort of gameplay difference of the choices you make is, do you have a special attack or do you get to call in allies?
Yeah.
Also, it turns out fighting with a boat is a lot harder than fighting with a gun. I don't know why I chose the boat.
Yeah, it was.
It's not really doing a lot for me.
Was the boat bounce knocking back? Is that a?
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to do a whole lot of damage.
So okay, so I mean, I think what we've said there is it's not quite enough to say they support one another, but they're mostly complementary.
Yeah.
So that puts it at a good level. Techniques. This is pacing and the use of techniques. The use of techniques is great. I think they've got a really nice dialogue system, and they've also got these little sort of mini cutscenes.
It's which cutscenes?
So they have things like when the pirate attacks, for example, and they also have the ones where you on the
I mean, there's this sort of like half dialogue, half cutscene thing.
This is the dialogue bit, but there's the bit where you get a new background image comes up and then it tells you what's going on. So, for example, when you encounter the island or
like this bit.
No. Well, that's a sort of executed.
Yeah, I got executed. I found it. I unlocked a different ending. Is what I did.
Yeah, it was a bad ending.
There
you go.
Yeah, I would say changing the background image on top of the dialogue thing it's a bit of a reach to say that it's a totally different technique.
Yeah, okay,
I said it's a very, very effective technique. Like I was saying earlier, I really like the fact that you've got the little portrait of the person you're talking to, the background, and the sort of dialogue on top. I'm not sure there are...
No, so there's nothing... How is the narrative otherwise conveyed? It's not, is it? It's kind of all using that one process. So what about the pacing?
The
pacing. I mean, they've got the fights as kind of as individual parts, and then they've got the kind of final battle with the pirate.
But again, the pacing of those feels a little bit wobbly. So, for example, that second fight with the guns was considerably harder than any of the others. But if I'd have picked the ducks, then it's perfectly easy.
So satisfactory for this, by the way, would be some ascending pacing and the use of at least one game writing technique. And good would be ascending pacing with a clear final peak and use of more than one game writing technique.
Okay, so...
So here you've got... Yeah.
So, narratively, there is some ascendant pacing. It's clear that when we encounter Blackbeard, this is about to be the climax.
Yes.
Other than that, it feels like a series of fairly unconnected events. It's like, oh, go to this island, fight some ants. Go to this island, fight some ducks. Go to this island, fight some other things. But there's no... I mean, they kind of do say, you know, we need to do these things because we want to go and attack Blackbeard. I almost like if they'd had a thing saying, you know, like day one, like this, or like 3 days until like we meet Blackbeard, or 2 days until we meet Blackbeard.
Shame they didn't put another method of. I mean, what they've got is very nice. It feels like a polished kind of experience, but because they've gone for the mini game structure, there's not a lot else to actually convey the story. So for me, it feels like it's somewhere around the satisfactory or good level.
Possibly
Possibly
between the two.
Pacing and the use of at least one game writing technique. And good is ascending pacing with a clear final peak and use of more than one game writing technique. It feels to me that there is ascending pace. Well, it's the pacing. There is a clear final peak, but the pacing isn't necessarily ascending. And there isn't the use of more than one game writing technique, although the one that they've used is executed really, really nicely, and has different elements to it. Yeah.
So, for example, if they'd have had the sort of, you know, cutscene dialogues, and then I failed because I was running away too much. If they'd have just put some choice, you know, the sort of typical RPG dialogue tree, sort of a tell me more about Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been enough to sort of be another technique, because then it's a sort of...
Yes.
You're exposing more of the story by asking questions.
So for me, I'm still... what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out whether it's a good or whether it should be just a tick below good.
I think it's probably halfway between good and satisfactory, but I don't know.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that. So feedback. So their feedback was suggestions for how to improve the level at which the game world impacts the narrative. We originally intended to do this by winning and losing arena challenges and by customizing dialogue in the cutscenes. So what you just said, they were intending to do, but customizing dialogue in the cutscenes to reflect your choices.
I don't know. I think what they mean by that is they just have a different set of dialogue where you get called a traitor.
Yes, yeah, and they ran out of time to do it. So.
Oh, okay.
Some early plans of implementing this feature include the game's ability to track how many enemies you defeat and use that for acknowledging the skill level later in the story. Another piece of feedback consists of putting the main villain of the game, Blackbeard, in the centre of attention since the beginning of the narrative due to his high importance. As a result, the final story begins with a reference to the tyrant pirate captain that rules over the seas. Okay.
Sorry, what was that in aid of?
So, I think in the original one, what they did was they just suddenly had this Blackbeard pirate turn up at the end.
Oh, okay, so they sort of foreshadow it a little bit.
And what I suggested to them, because I think it was me, was that they foreshadow it, or even start with some kind of, you know, in media res thing when they're
if there'd have been sort of, you know, you're recounting this to Blackbeard.
Something like that,
just before the final encounter kind of thing.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So actually, I mean, that's interesting. So they have... So they have listened to the stuff about making sure the game world impacts the narrative. They've done that. But the other bits, they've kind of repeated and then said, well, we didn't actually have time to do it.
Yeah, so they've articulated it.
And the Blackbeard one, they kind of did a half-hearted attempt. So rather than making it a core part of the gameplay, they just made a reference to them at the beginning.
Which is a real shame, actually, because they've clearly understood what you're asking, of them.
Yeah.
But they've just... I mean, you know, through time constraints or whatever, but they've not been able to...
good, for example, is still feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been successfully made. And I think they'd probably have achieved that. But they haven't got the excellent, which is where it was kind of interpreted and then made. So I think their feedback is probably at the good level.
I don't know, even Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like it. I think this is a really nice little example. A set of interesting mini games. Well, relatively interesting mini games held together with a kind of little branching narrative, and it's rather well done actually. So yeah, I like this one.
Cool. Let's move on. Okay, this next game is Twins Twisted Tale. Now, to start with, we had a couple of problems actually getting off the title screen. As lovely as the title screen is, the mouse cursor seems to snap towards the center of the screen as soon as I move it. So if as long as I don't move it at all, and I can just press enter to play, then I think we can progress.
You're right.
And then we get this nice little cutscene where the title screen animates, the characters walk off.
It's a very nice little starting place, isn't it? And going through the woods now is nice too.
Yeah. Not sure what those cones of light are. I'm guessing torches, maybe?
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, wow, there's a bear stuck in a bear trap. Where are you running?
So this is our little cutscene, I guess.
She is so naive, better find her before she gets hurt. We're just ignoring the bear then.
Yeah, you'd think the bear would merit some comment. Oh, we've got some keys on the screen.
Okie dokie.
So it's an integrated tutorial.
W and S don't seem to actually do anything. I guess maybe I can go up that ladder? Oh, okay, and the arrow controls just do the same thing, so it's just alternative controls.
Help me.
Okay, so we've got some lovely little background music and a lovely little growl when the bear speaks. Press I. I'm trapped here. I could escape if only I was in power. Press I. What?
I was in power? Oh.
You have some...
Power, presumably. You have some food with you. Do you want to help him? Okay.
Yes. Thank you, little girl. Your kindness will be paid back one day. Press I. Hurry up. Your sister is alone. That green light looks so suspicious. Okie dokie.
Okay, and we've left him some food. So, a little bit in the dark as to why we're helping a bear in the woods. But, okay. Look, that bright light is so bright. I like the way she's gone blue.
Yeah. Under the green light.
Well.
Still no controls yet.
Let's go home. Wait for me.
Oop, little zoom.
In she goes. No, you've gone green. Okay. Nope. Press
okay.
E to hide.
Inventory.
Holly Fountain Bridge collapsed. Should build one using boxes. Oh.
I don't know if that was meant to happen, but that certainly was interesting.
So we've got...
I didn't get a chance to read that before all the lights went out. Did you? Something, the bridge has collapsed.
It said the Holly something bridge has collapsed.
Maybe boxes.
Maybe boxes not enough. Boards are good too.
Get close to the object. So we've got an inventory. Odd that I is, I guess, I for interact as well as inventory. Space to pick up. We've got a lot of different controls. So I've picked up...
One, select the item you just collected. Oh, okay, so that's in... So you've picked up a box.
So I was going to say, I'm worried this... Oh, that's interesting.
Oh.
Oh! I was just tapping up to see what would happen, and it happened to be that I was over this little vine.
Yeah.
Which I totally did not realise was a
thing. No.
So it's very lucky I happened to try it there. But yeah, I was going to say I was worried there was not enough gameplay, and it was just, we walked up to a bear, we pressed a key, we walked somewhere else. But no, it looks like there's another set of mechanics.
Help us to repair the platform above the nest with boards.
Okay.
So their beehive is...
So now I have a board and a box. So if I press 2, I just put the boards down.
Press 1 to select the item you just collected.
But now it's stuck above my head.
That's a bit strange.
Oh,
okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, and there's another one there, so I'll pick that up. And then 2 again. And then it's above my head again. And then space. Okay, good.
Okay.
I have repaired the platform for you. I don't know if that's helpful, but there you go. Enjoy. I can't pick this box.
Oh, the elders say helping animals in need will never be forgotten.
Okay, a little bit of context to why we're...
That's quite nice, actually. I like that. Okay, can you jump?
So I guess let's put down a box to help make a platform. I cannot jump now.
Okay, so you have to make the bridge. Oh, and you can put the board in the middle, maybe? And box. Oh, okay.
Oh, hang on. Can I...
Your objective is to collect enough items to build a platform to get to your sister.
Can I then pick up...
You got
Oh,
one more...
whoa, hang on. Your sister is impatient and she will leave if you're not... Don't just throw a timer on like that.
Oh my goodness, where'd that come from? You need to go and get the other box.
But what? I can't pick up the other box.
No?
No.
It's the only other box available, isn't it?
It seems to be, but look, I can't pick it up.
Okay. There wasn't anything on the previous...
Don't think so. Maybe I put them just too close together.
Yeah, maybe...
But then
maybe
why... I can't pick them...
Give it a go. Try separate them out a little bit. And
I can't pick them back up.
Oh, you can't? Oh. What happens if you just walk off the edge?
Oh, I just respawn over here.
Let's see what happens when the timer runs out.
It just goes into the next.
I will go. Right, so she's gone.
Okay.
And we're completely stuck.
Timer's still going down. These bees were no help at all. Yeah, the timer's just constantly going down now.
Okay. So you can't run off the edge. No.
Hang on a minute. These are two different stories, right? Because helping the bees is from the Queen Bee.
Yep.
And the bear is from Snow White.
Yes. So
also, the time has gone grey now.
The story says, taking inspiration from Snow White and Rose Red with elements from the Queen Bee.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I guess I was just supposed to put these like apart so there was a gap between them. But yeah, now the time is just counting. So we're at -1 minute and -2 seconds.
And the problem with that is that the gap is precisely large enough for 4 items.
Yeah.
So the gap is implying that you need 4 items.
Well, I mean, I gave 2 of the planks to the bees instead of...
You did.
So maybe I have to not help the bees to get past? And then go back and help them later? Also, I'm stuck inside this box now. Oh, there we go.
Okay, I think we're stuck.
I think I'm going to have to restart this one. So
we restart and then we'll talk about the presentation and control bits while we're going through again, yeah?
Okay, so aesthetically, like,
Yes.
very nice.
Really, really rather nice. And it's not just the assets, they're all animated nicely and lit nicely and put together rather nicely. And the kind of elements of the interface, they all fit the graphics as well. So yeah, I like the look.
I think information design wise, maybe could be a little bit. I don't know what's the word. It's like
they've got some really nice things and they've got some frustrating things, right?
They sort of clutter the like that. Like this screen, it's quite nice. It's simple. We've got our little text thing. We've got our little movement controls. What happens if I just ignore the bear? Let's go help the bear and then we'll worry about the rest of it. But the next one gets very... They've got so many different controls and it gets a little bit cluttered. So I'm going to press I and then yes.
Whereas some things like the commentary from the little guy on the next screen, that animals will remember you helping them and all that kind of stuff. That's really nicely done and nicely integrated into the space.
The music's nice. You get the sort of like the noise of the bear and the noise. Like there's a couple of little things when you pick stuff up or
Yeah.
like just click on menu items and things like that.
So I think good would be graphics are consistent and appropriate use of audio. Excellent would be consistent and appealing graphics. Good use of audio. And probably the information is is satisfactory. Key information is shown.
I mean, they've got this. I should build one using blocks. Get closer to the.
I mean, excellent is consistent and appealing graphics. So my feeling.
Oh, okay. Oh, it goes dark to highlight the boxes you've got available. I see.
Oh, okay. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes.
So can I put it like?
Well, that should be enough, isn't it? Why have you got 6? You've got 6 things now.
What? No, I don't.
Ah, one of the boxes isn't a box.
Yeah, and the two planks I put over the B thing because they asked me to.
Yeah.
But see, if I space them out like that, then that should be enough.
Yeah, okay.
But also, this, like, information design-wise, it's really not obvious that you can climb those vines.
So I think that what we have here is kind of satisfactory information design. Key information is shown. Good audio.
See, like,
appropriate use of audio, and it's just a question of whether we think the graphics deserve the excellent, which is consistent and appealing.
So just there, for example, sorry to go off topic for a second, but
yeah.
like there, the boards snap into place.
Yeah.
So it really feels like they should do that here.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's somewhere in the middle. So if we went for good for presentation. Okay, let's see what happens. Ah, you arrived on time. Yes, thank goodness. Let's go. There's things up there.
Don't want to lose your tracing. So again, I don't really like the timer there either, but at least it sort of sets it up narratively. It's, you know, your sister's getting impatient, she's going to leave without you, hurry up.
So through this kind of scene.
Oh. Again, this is very busy. There's a lot of stuff to read and the timer's already started.
Our beehive is in danger. Only 2 bees will stun the plants for you.
But what does that mean?
Thanks for the help. I'll send more troops to stop the plants for you.
That feels like that. One of those should have appeared if I didn't help the beehive, and the other should have appeared if I did. Like, if it's in danger, only 2 bees show up. Or if it does.
And what do the bees actually do?
Apparently they're stunning the plants. So I guess these plants would be enemies. Look at the enemy.
And they're not animated so you can walk through. Oh. So if you follow the bee.
Yeah.
Got you.
So I'm going to help the ants, I guess. The dwarf should be stopped. He broke the tree.
How did you spot the ants? I didn't even see the ants up there.
Help us to sustain the branch. Our home is in extreme danger. The queen bee needs our protection, but your ants.
How are they doing now then? So where do they?
Eh? Oh, I see. I've got to put that like that, and then there's going to be another.
Oh, I see. And where do you find the other one?
I think over here.
Over there.
No,
yeah.
that plant started moving. Again, there's no indication of when these plants are going to start moving.
No. To wait now, presumably.
Or I can just run through it.
And then you get zapped back to the right place.
But
Go on then,
we've lost. We've run out of time already.
Don't forget, helping the ones in need will change everything. Okay, and then where are we going?
I think across that gap again.
Okay. So with the bees, there's loads of bees here, right?
Yes.
So is that because you helped the bees?
I think so. I think that's the idea.
And if there'd only be 1 bee going up and down, which
2.
would make it harder.
But yeah.
Well, 1 bee on each level, presumably.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm got to wait for the bee again.
Oh.
There we go. but we ran out of time,
Ooh.
so we've lost our sister. We can hear the dark creatures. Let's find her.
All right. Oh.
Because you helped us, we will deal with the hill. Okay.
Don't wake the dwarf up. Come to me and I'll help you. To pass through, you must wait for an ant to stun the snail.
Okay. Okay, look at the ants moving all of the stuff. Don't wake the dwarf up. Which one's the dwarf? Is it the dwarfy looking person smashing a...
Well, he said, come and help me and I'll come to me and I'll help you.
That thing on the bottom floor?
On the bottom floor?
Yeah, you see the sort of... This is kind of goes back to information design and consistency of graphics, but you see where the snail is now?
Yes.
There's like a thing next to the box that looks...
yeah, I see it. Got you. Blimey, that's well hidden. Okay, so you're trying to get across the gap. Ooh.
I can't put this down here. Oh, but he gives me something anyway, I guess.
There is something to help you deal with him.
What? What is?
What?
That?
I don't know.
The axe in the box?
What axe in the box?
The one next to the guy that's not a dwarf that looks like a dwarf.
Oh, that tiny little thing.
Yeah, is that it?
Maybe.
I'm not sure how we get across. I can't put this... Why can't I put this box here? Oh, what? Like, how? What?
Yeah.
Now it's gone.
And presumably it's not in your inventory anymore. Have you just lost the box? So the ants cleared away through the hill.
Okay. Do I just go that way then instead? No, but I can't wake up this guy. I can't get past this snail either. Because the ants aren't stunning it or anything. Oh, okay, now they are. And I can't get over this box because I don't have any jump or anything like that.
The atmospheric lighting is a bit too atmospheric.
Yeah. Can I put down... I've put down a thing there. I don't think that's helped in any way. I almost think let's revisit the whole information design thing, because it's really not clear what a lot of these things are, or where they can be placed, or where they should be placed.
You're given the choice to help ants. So on this level, you're given the choice, read from their game notes, to help ants by stopping a tree branch from squishing them.
No, that was the previous level.
They'll help you destroy a hill on the next level to help you get through. In case you refuse to help them, you will have to collect materials to build a shovel to get to the next level.
That was the... yeah. So now so, by the way, that axe...
oh, it's appeared?
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks a very familiar axe, by the way. I think I know where they got that sprite from. So wait, So
okay, you need to...
But I can't get off that bridge. Okay, now I can. So what, would I need to cut... Oh, the dwarf's awake now.
What was
Why
that?
is the dwarf awake?
I don't know what it was.
Why is my timer at -56? Oh no.
What is going on? What errors in judgment have you made in your life?
Why is he just flying into the air?
I won't forget that. Oh, he's angry because we woke him up.
How?
Apparently he's
Because I was on a totally different floor when he woke up. I guess, do I need to...
do you need to go off to the right somehow? You need to go through the tunnel, don't you?
Yeah, but I can't get past that box. Because I've got no jump and no way of building a ramp.
Box?
The one with the face on it.
Okay. Oh, that's a blocker, is it?
Seems
Are you sure? Is it?
Oh, no, I can now. I couldn't.
I think the snail was there before or something. Or...
Oh, maybe. But,
I think the snail was...
now I'm down this hill.
Yeah, I think the snail was stunned, which allowed you to walk past him. But before he wasn't stunned, and the snail was stopping you, he just happened to be in front of the box.
Okay.
So again, information design, right? Okay. Well, let's revisit this then. So, so if we reduce the mark for the information design, because we're really confused about what's going on. Let's talk about gameplay. So that's the mechanics, whether there's usable controls, and whether there's kind of meaningful play.
Now we've got somebody wearing a bear skin or a sentient boar. The bears appeared over there with the dwarf. There's just so much going on.
Bring flowers to the beehive. Good luck. Yeah, and they're oh, that's right. And they've stopped talking before you can read them. So you've got to bring Bring flowers to the beehive.
Okay, there's
dwarf. Oh, the bears appeared to stop the dwarf because we helped him earlier on, I think.
How do I get across? Because I haven't got anything in my inventory. Oh, I can pick this up.
Can you?
Is there another one behind? So is this? Yeah, you see this thing behind this flower?
Yeah.
That's the thing I need to get, but that's really doesn't stand out either.
No, that's.
And I can't. I have no control about when I get past this flower. I just have to wait for that bee to show up.
Yeah. Just because we help the bees, really.
So yeah. So this is sort of mechanics relevant. There's a lot of different things going on, but not a lot that I have control over. So can I jump over here?
No.
Okay. Alright, there's a flower.
Oh, I didn't even see the flowers there to collect. Oh, okay, they're the little things sticking up.
Yeah, so I've given one flower to the bees. I don't know why I'm collecting bees for flowers when I'm supposed to be looking for my sister.
No.
I've also fallen off a ledge. That snail is not being stunned, so I keep getting sent back over here.
Yeah, so he's stunned now, but you're a bit reliant on those ants. But then the ants sort of unstun the snail as well.
Oh, that one's
So
stunned.
he's stunned again.
Get that flower. Oh, the dwarf got me.
No, the dwarf got you. But you've still got the flower.
So I'm in a, so the controls themselves
Yeah.
are sort of okay.
Yeah.
God save you are alive, my little girl.
Those naughty girls. One day will take. I'm really scared. I left my sister behind and she doesn't appear.
So we actually didn't need to rescue our sister.
It's a real dream.
She was fine this whole time, but we just got lost.
Oh, and then here's us. I should have hurried. There's nothing I can do now.
But she's fine.
But she's fine. And there's the bear.
You performed well.
Quicker would have been better.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not a conclusion to a story.
No, it is like
this is confetti.
It's like a fever dream.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We'll get to all of this, but let's talk about. So maybe if you go through and try not to help the animals, and see what happens.
Oh yeah, that'll be much easier.
And let's talk about gameplay. So.
Oh, there's a help menu.
Is there a set of complementary mechanics? Are the controls smooth and usable? Is there meaningful play? Well, you could.
Honestly, yeah, there is. The actual controls themselves.
Yep.
Are fine. Except I can't actually get off this help screen.
Yeah.
That's not helpful.
I'm gonna have to restart, aren't you?
I am, aren't I?
Yeah. So
the controls themselves are fine. Like the moving is fine. The up and down movement is a little bit weird.
Yeah. So satisfactory would be a set of mechanics, usable controls, and leading to some meaningful play.
Let's take a look at the mechanics then. So we've got the movement, we've got the enemies that we need to avoid, we've got the helpful things that bump into the enemies when they feel like it. We've got interacting. We've got this sort of choice here where we give him some food, but for no reason. Like, why wouldn't we just give them food? That's another.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. But so there are some mechanics. Are they complementary mechanics?
I think that's the problem. They're not. They do work together, but there's so many of them that are just sort of thrown together in such a constrained space or a confined space.
So for me, I think this is satisfactory. A set of mechanics, usable controls, and some meaningful play.
I think that's
whereas good would be the complementary mechanics, smooth controls, and meaningful play. It kind of feels more at the satisfactory level.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case, and I think it feels worse than satisfactory because of the bugs. But
yes,
ignoring those, then yeah, I think it definitely meets the satisfactory criteria.
Well, let's talk about bugs.
Okay, so major bug, when you start the game, you can't progress past the title screen unless you're very fiddly with it. The fact that we, on the very first level, failed to build a bridge and the clock just ticked down infinitely.
Yeah.
The fact that we keep getting stuck on things. So it turns out when you recognise that this is highlighting stuff you can pick up, that's a nice bit of information design, but it's not.
Yes.
I thought the game glitched out when all the lights went off.
No, it's odd. Do you control it, or does it just automatically do it?
No, it just automatically does it.
So, okay. So in terms of bugs, the game is playable. I think it's reasonably complex, but there are infrequent serious bugs and/or frequent minor bugs.
And I think that's where this is.
That's satisfactory again. So I'm spotting a pattern here. Okay, so let's think about the story engine then. So this is all about whether choices in the narrative impact the game and things you do in the game impact the narrative. So in their story notes they said narrative impacting the game. Okay, going home is not going to be easy as areas are quite dangerous in the woods. This is reflected in the game by Red waiting at the end of the game, while White has to find building objects and dodging enemies to get her, which is two of the main mechanics of the game. The Dwarf is the second narrative element reflecting the game. He is the intrigue, which is why you need to help animals, and also provides the build-up and climax because he's the final boss. The impatience of Red is reflected by providing a timer, which after it reaches 0, the sister leaves without White.
That does not really answer that question.
No.
Also, I'm really not noticing a difference in the number of bees. It says there'll only be 2 bees, but there's still lots, and it's actually really easy to...
Yeah, I think this might be another bug. So what we're looking for here is narrative impacting the game is you make narrative choices.
Well, that's sort of my point in the narrative impact thing, in that it's not had an impact. We made a different choice and the gameplay is exactly the same.
So you make narrative choices and that changes the gameplay. So it doesn't appear to have... Oh, actually, there is 1 bee. Oh, there's 2... Yes. There's 1 bee on the bottom and then squillions of bees at the top.
And I think this looks exactly the same as before. Like, we know it's supposed to have an
No, you've got fewer bees at the bottom. You've only got 1 bee at the bottom. I think the bottom is doing what it should do.
Are you sure? Because it feels like it's the same amount as last time, and also I can't
if you look at the bottom platform, you've only got 1 bee going up and down, and I'm pretty sure you had several bees last time.
Perhaps.
So
here, these boxes snap here, and I can't put down anything else, so I wasted all of that time and lost...
Oh, you did have another bee appeared. All right, so I'm not sure about the narrative impacting the game. It should be impacting the game. I think the bear appears and stop the dwarf. That seemed to work. So
yeah, I'm deliberately not helping any of the animals this time, so we'll see if that.
So gameplay impacting the narrative. In case you help the bear, they'll be present in the last level to help you fight the dwarf.
So the ants aren't going to help us with the...
But that doesn't change the narrative, that's a mechanical impact. And you can choose if you want to help the bees. The downside of doing this is the time element as your system leaves. So I think the way that the gameplay impacts the narrative is that if you take too long, you get a different ending. Because you're there to help your sister or not. But I'm not clear what the consequence of that actually is. As the timer has a major role, the ending of the game is based on how well you're able to keep up with your sister. Different cutscenes and narrative rewards are presented in 3 main cases. If you keep up with her, if she's just 1 step ahead of you, or if she's gone far ahead, which may lead to the sisters never meeting up again after the first level. So I think you got the middle ending last time, right?
I must have, yeah. Can I use this?
Okay. So when you're thinking about the story engine aspect then, so the things you do in the game do kind of affect the narrative. Sorry, the things you do in the narrative, do affect the game.
Sorry, I'm just like, this snail is not getting stunned by ants, so I'm just stuck here. I can't seem to progress.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, there's some weird collection of pixels over here. Is that a thing?
So part of the reason this is tricky is because there isn't an awful lot of narrative, and it's told directly in the game world. So all of your choices are diegetic choices, aren't they? You're essentially making choices within the game.
Apart from the very first one, which is just give bear food, yes, no.
Yeah.
But
that is one. So it looks to me like you are making some narrative choices, but they're all made mechanically, and they do affect the game in that they kind of change certain things in the game. It looks buggy, things like the number of bees and all that kind of stuff, but
also
certainly the bear appears, certainly that happens.
So I have to collect 3 shovel pieces to continue, and I can't pick up any of the shovel pieces.
No, where are they? I can't even see. Oh,
So there's one next to me right now, there's one directly above me on the top floor, and there's one where the snail is on the middle floor.
So the bright orange bits.
Yeah.
So in terms of the gameplay impacting the narrative,
and again, sort of very inconsistent graphics they're using. They've just taken the Minecraft sprites and added them into this, and they really don't fit with, the very smoothly drawn everything else. And again, now we're stuck. There's no way we can continue. So that's another fairly major bug.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting off track again, aren't I?
As we're playing this, I'm finding with more and more bugs. I'm wondering whether the bugs thing ought to be a bit lower.
I think you may be right.
Frequent, serious bug. I mean, maybe just a tad lower than we had it. It's still playable mainly.
There's a playable route through it.
Yes. So all right, let's go to the story engine. So, past would be a basic story engine with poor integration with the game world. There are a few examples when the story impacts the game world or is impacted from the events from the game world. And satisfactory would be a simple story engine with limited integration with the game world. There are some examples where it impacts the game world or is impacted by events from the game world. So I think the problem is the actual story is very, very thin. There's and most of it is mechanical. You're making choices mechanically. It's kind of whether your sister is present or not at the end, all that kind of stuff. But it does look to me like it does go both ways. It's very simple.
Again, it's sort of like the gameplay mark. If we overlook the sort of buggy nature of it and the way that the things don't seem to work as intended, it looks like they've put thought into the way those interactions happen. They're either not happening or not happening obviously enough that we can tell.
Yes, I think it's the latter.
So here, for example, it is very obvious that it changes the path. The ants are not digging the tunnel fine, but in the previous one with the bees, I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So I think we're probably at the satisfactory level for that. For agency, this is it an interactive story with different branching points and some interesting choices?
So I will kind of give them credit for, the choice becomes, do I risk my sister leaving, or and spend time helping these creatures, or do I ignore them so I can focus on my sister? It's not necessarily a complex choice, and it's one that more reflects sort of, how do I judge my skill as a player? Do I think I can do it in time? But it is a choice that you sort of make within the game.
so there's a linear, they've got a diagram in their game notes, and the diagram's a fairly accurate reflection of what's going on. So you go through this linear series of levels, and each one you make choices, which affect the mechanics within that level, and then overall there's a kind of a cumulative one which is based on the timer, and that gives you one of two different endings: a happy ending, or a kind of what they call a motivational message. So I think it is a branching story, but it's really limited branching because it branches right at the end once, effectively. I'm not sure. I mean, are they interesting choices? They're mechanical choices again. So it's like, do I suffer the timer going down in order to get their help later on? They're not narrative choices, really.
Yeah.
And in terms of managing player agency, they sort of do that by having the timer to encourage you down one path, I suppose, and then they deal with the consequences later on.
Ah, I can pick up the shovel pieces now.
So they don't really, deal with it particularly well. So I think in terms of the story, I mean, Pour would be an interactive story with few branching points, and Pass would be an interactive story with some branching points, and then Choices would be few interesting choices and player agency is problematic, and Pass would be few interesting choices.
I mean, there are branching points that you sort of effectively suffer as a consequence, sort of
Yes.
whether or not you end up leaving your sister behind, or rather whether she ends up leaving you behind. Really.
And do we think they're interesting choices?
I'm not sure.
I don't think narratively they are. I kind of. So for me, it's probably somewhere between a Pass and a Satisfactory. So Pass being an interactive story with some branching points but few interesting choices, an interactive story with several branching points and some interesting choices. So it's just according to how many choices there are effectively and how interesting they are, and it kind of feels somewhere between the two. The poetics, do the narrative and gameplay complement one another?
What is the theme of the story they're trying to tell?
So part of the problem is because they've mixed up two of the fairy tales. They've kind of lost that a little bit, haven't they?
I don't know. They both have fairly similar themes, to be honest. Particularly the sort of help the bear, it gets paid forwards later. Help the ant, it gets paid forward later, kind of thing. So I don't.
But does the timer work? Timers.
That's it. We've seen games like previous to this one where there's a timer in it. Like, at least this one is narratively justified. Your sister wants to leave and won't wait around for you. But the problem is it still doesn't.
And there are consequences. So if you help the animals, there are consequences, which is your time, right? The timer runs out.
Yeah.
So actually, okay. So actually, in terms of linking the two together, you help the animals and they help you back, but you have to fight the timer, and it costs you time in order to help the animals. So arguably, they are working together, actually.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps not as thoroughly as they could have done, but they are supporting each other to a degree.
So a good would be narrative and gameplay complement one another, as the key mechanics are in keeping with the themes of the story. Kind of feels like it is. Again, it's very confusing, and there's a few bugs.
So I think
make it hard to play. But if you overlook that, it is doing those things.
I think that's the thing. My issue is that I don't understand. Like, I don't have enough narrative context to understand why rushing after my sister is important.
So I think the poetics are good, and if there's a problem, then it's the next bit then, which is techniques.
Yeah.
So this is the use of game writing techniques.
Like, that's it. As a set of mechanics to bring about like the theme of the story, the fact that I have to go out of my way to help someone else at cost to myself, but then it gets paid back later, is perfectly reflected in the mechanics. That actually is a really, really well done. It's just the surrounding context to make that meaningful is maybe a bit lacking.
So in terms of the techniques, in terms of the pacing, and the writing techniques. I like some of the writing techniques. So,
like they have
when
used.
it appears within dialogue within the game is quite nice.
So yeah, we've got a number of techniques. We've got the sort of little cutscenes that have sort of fixed dialogue, even like the little camera zooms and stuff like that to highlight.
Yeah, that was quite cute actually.
Particular bits. We've got characters in the world sort of talking to us.
Yeah.
I mean, they're yeah.
And then what about the pacing? So do we have ascending pacing? Is there a clear final peak?
I mean, there is, yeah. The final level brings together all of the creatures and all of the elements.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's like, okay, give the bees flowers, and it's like, why? How is that helping? Like, it's nice that they've got, like all of the antagonists, all of the the helpful creatures and stuff in that level. It's a shame that it's such a confined space because it makes it really difficult to navigate. But they do actually draw those things together and have a clear final peak. They do have a little bit of an epilogue where, there's a little cutscene at the end showing like one sister arrives home before the other one's really worried, slightly undercut by giant confetti fanfare right at the end.
And actually, you could argue that the pacing is ascending because the very first level you're just helping the bear, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very gentle start, and then you have a number of puzzle levels, and then you have that kind of the one where it all comes together with the dwarf at the end.
So I think overall they have demonstrated like a number of techniques, and they've demonstrated them fairly well.
Actually, again, it's probably good. So ascending pacing, clear final peak, and use of more than one game writing technique.
Just for the sake of argument, what would excellent require?
So ascending pacing with more than one peak and appropriate and consistent use of more than one game writing technique. And
that's the thing. I don't think it quite meets that. They don't have the sort of the multiple narrative.
You're right. I think my problem with the narrative actually isn't quite covered in techniques. It's the extent of it. It's very sparse.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Like they've used the techniques quite well, but they haven't managed to tell the story with them, despite demonstrating that they can use these different techniques.
Well, let's move on to feedback. So you'll like this. So initially their game was supposed to have two major story branches, a forest route and a space route.
Interesting.
With levels that present alternate gameplay styles, but keep it in symmetry. 4 levels for space and 4 for the forest. The feedback provided was this does not reflect. It says does not reflect an intricate story engine. I don't think that's quite true. I think the feedback was that's not going to help you. It just adds complexity without doing anything. But we need to find a way to make connections between each level. Instead of having one major decision at the beginning that sets you on a single linear route. So they were going to have a decision. Do I go to the forest? Or do I go to space?
So effectively they were going to write two totally different stories.
Exactly.
I think they did well by not doing that, even though they tried combining elements of the two stories into the one that you'll see, rather than having to effectively double their work based on an arbitrary choice you make at the start. So that probably serves them quite well. So
they said they got rid of the space branch. And the second part of the feedback was that they should stay away from different gameplay styles. That's because they were going to. I think they had this idea about. I can't remember what they were doing now. Was it like a race section or something, where it would move away from the platform? So they were told, no, you can do it all with the. So their response was to remove the space route, as we could not find a coherent narrative that connected to. We couldn't find a way of cramming in a space level into this forest platformer, so we decided. And we settled on the main mechanic and 2 dynamics, which influenced the levels in the forest branch. So in fairness, what they were going to do was they were going to have a choice at the beginning, 2 radically different routes through the game, and 1 completely different game mode where you did a sort of I forget what it was now, but let's say it was a racing game or something. And they were told, no, don't do that. You can do all you need to do with just a series of with one route, but doing it within the levels. And also, you don't have to have the completely separate set of game mechanics. You can do it all with what you've got. And in fairness, they have done that and focused on on that one route. So, I think that's good. Feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been successfully made. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. So I think this is a.
Like, it feels like perhaps they didn't necessarily understand some of the reasons we suggested those things,
No.
but they did go ahead and make changes that supported their game.
So I think this is a really mixed bag. This game, I think it looks quite nice, but is a bit cluttered and confusing. So and it's got quite a few little bugs which make it difficult to see what's going on. But they've done quite a lot right, actually. Yeah, they've done quite a lot right. Shall we move on?
Actually, that's our last game for this batch, so we'll see you for the next video. Bye bye.